In this comparative study, I will be going over Run Lola Run, 1998, Tom Tykwer, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 2010, Edgar Wright. The film focus is cinematic techniques, genre, and themes, and the topic is how a film's cinematic techniques can affect the genre and themes of a film. Run Lola Run is a German film set in Berlin during the 90s. The genre of the film is an action drama thriller with aspects of romance in it. There is a little amount of dialogue, and the film relies on images, symbols, and motifs to tell the story. The film has a video game aspect to it, which coincides with the non-linear narrative of the film. The film follows Lola as she tries to save her boyfriend's, Manny, life by getting 100,000 marks in 20 minutes. Every time Lola fails to save Manny, she restarts from the beginning of the 20 minutes and has to try again. The film is like a video game level that restarts every time the mission is not completed. The themes of this film are love conquers all, time, journey, and game theory. The use of cinematic techniques such as color, sound, cinematography, and mise-en-scène are used to show these themes throughout the film. Fate is the idea that a person's life is pre-planned and the outcome is already made up. Free will is the idea that a person's actions affect the outcome of their future. Fate versus free will is the debate on if actions affect someone's future or if their future is already determined. In this film, free will is shown by Lola's future changing based on different actions she makes. In this film, Lola is a normal person who happens to have an amazing superhero-like power of endurance. Lola is motivated to go on her quest to save her boyfriend. This film has a subgenre of action clock, where Lola is on a race against time. These give the film the action genre and add to the video game and comic book conventions. The film shows repetition in the non-linear narrative by showing the same chain of events with small differences in Lola's decision that affect every character in the film. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is set in Toronto, Canada in the 2000s. The genres of the film are comedy, action, and romance. This film also has a big video game and comic book aspect with a non-linear narrative. The film follows Scott Pilgrim as he fights his girlfriends, Ramona, 7 evil exes. Each of the exes is a new level in the game until he reaches the final boss. If he doesn't defeat the exes, he loses Ramona. The themes of this film are love, death, fate versus free will, journey, growth, and game theory. The use of cinematic techniques such as color, sound, and cinematography are used to show these themes in the film. Video game language is used extensively with coins and other references to video games, adding to the video game theme. Fate versus free will is shown in this film. In the film, free will is shown by Scott Pilgrim's ability to change the outcome of his life and save his love interest through the non-linear narrative. An action movie with conventions of comic book elements must have a very believable, normal protagonist that happens to have superhero powers, with the character on a quest for something valuable. This film has both of those, with Scott Pilgrim being a very relatable character that goes on a quest to save his love interest. The non-linear narrative in this film is shown by repetition in the scene of the film. The film repeats the same chain of events with small differences that affect the outcome of the scene. The two films are similar in the use of color to add to their themes. In Run Lola Run, the color red is very prevalent throughout the film. Lola's hair is red, and 2/3 of the movie is shot with a red tint. The color red in the film symbolizes love for the love Lola and Manny have for each other. In Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, color is used a lot. The hair color of Ramona is changed throughout the film from pink, blue, to green. These colors represent the 3 golden goddesses from The Legend of Zelda. The color red is also seen, especially in the final fight scene against Gideon Graves. Gideon has on a red shirt, and the stairs leading up to him are red. The shirt and stairs represent death, whereas the sword Scott Pilgrim has represents love. Color is used a lot to add to the themes of these films. Another similarity between the two films is the cinematography to add to the video game and comic book conventions of the film. Both the films use split screens multiple times. The split screen is seen in video games and comic books very frequently, and is used in these films to give the video game and comic book feel. The split screen is one of the video game and comic book conventions used in these films. The score of the films are used in a very similar way to also add to the video game theme. In Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, rock music is used to represent high-intensity music like what is in video games. Run Lola Run does the same thing but with techno music, which gives even more of a video game feel. Both of the films have a non-linear narrative to them. Lola has to start over like a video game level 3 times because she failed to save her boyfriend. Each time she restarted, she learned something new and became better and faster until she was able to succeed. Scott Pilgrim got an extra life and restarted his final fight against Gideon. Scott grew as a person during his last fight and became better at physical combat. Both the characters were driven by their love interest in the nonlinear narrative. Both films use repetition to show the nonlinear narrative. Many nonlinear narratives involve repeating the same chain of events more than once, often with some variation. Winkle. The films repeat the chain of events with the variation affecting the outcome of the event. Both films have a normal, relatable protagonist that goes on a quest in order to gain something of value. This gives it the action genre with the conventions of comic book video game elements. The valuable thing in the film that the characters go on the quest for is the protagonist's love interest. Both the films have a genre of romance. The main protagonist in both films are a couple. The love for their significant other is what drives both of them to go on their journey. Although the films share many of the same themes, one theme that is not shared is the theme of time. Time is a huge theme in Run Lola Run. Action Clock is a subgenre of the film for Lola's race against time. The use of mise-en-scène is prevalent in showing symbolism for this theme. Many clocks are seen throughout the film to represent time. The use of non-diegetic sound is used too for this theme by having sounds of a clock in the background of some scenes. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World does not have a theme of time and does not share the same subgenre of action clock. Another difference in the movies is the use of spirals in Run Lola Run as compared to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. The spirals are used to symbolize the theme of journey in the film. Whenever Lola restarts her journey, she runs down a spiral staircase to symbolize the beginning of that new journey. The spiral is a very feminine symbol, Bayer. That is why it is used in Run Lola Run, because the film has a female main character as opposed to a male in Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim uses the stages of a game which represent the masculine hero journey, Campbell. The protagonists in Run Lola Run are criminals, and the movie has a criminal motif to it. Things like guns, masks, and police are shown. The movie has the criminals as the main characters and makes them the protagonists in the film. In Scott Pilgrim, the 7 evil X's are the criminals. These films have very similar aspects of showing free will being greater than fate. They share the same elements that give the films their action genre and video game and comic book elements. Both films use the non-linear narrative to show the protagonist's self-determination to save their love interest.